Razer Sabertooth controller. Works on Xbox 360 and PC, Oled screen, 10-foot detachable cable, 4 hyper-responsive buttons, and 6 additional multifunction buttons.
The Jazz Mini phone and tablet stand from Cooler Master is now available in a variety of cool colors from these great retailers. Click now to learn more.
Alright, you guys know me. I didn't really bother to try this out on an Xbox 360, but I'm sure it works just fine. I did try it on a PC, however, and all it really needed once I plugged it in was for Windows to auto-detect the driver install, and it was ready to go. Yes, that does mean that this controller doesn't use Razer's Synapse 2.0 software. Personally, I like that because I'm not a huge fan of background processes of pretty much any sort, and keeping my processes down is a constant battle for me, but this does mean that you're maxed out to the 2 profiles that fit on the controller. That being said, personally I don't see myself using more than those 2 profiles, so it's probably fine. Speaking of profiles, the OLED screen is responsive and easy to use, especially if you're just trying to change something simple like a profile, which can be done with the button on the left of the little screen. Changing anything from either profile is handled by the button on the right, with some help from the D-pad's up and down buttons for changing menu rotation and A and B for different selections. In the customization menu, you can do anything from turning rumble and or the backlight on or off, to advanced things like testing mode, which can be used to test the precision of your analog sticks and prove to your friends that it isn't actually the controller's fault and they just need to get on your level. And last but not least is program mode. In program mode, all you need to do is hold down the multifunction button that you want to bind and tap the button you want to bind it to. For instance, if you wanted to bind multifunction button 6 to a key, I would hold that button down and then press the button you want to bind it to. Once you've done that, exit the little menu on the OLED screen to get back to the Razer screen, and you're good to go. Next up is the detachable cable, which is nicely braided and comes with a screw-on connector, which, as long as you remember to line it up properly, is quite easy to plug in correctly. This is really nice to see on a premium level controller. Some people may not care about the detachable cable if they don't plan to travel with their controller, but I travel with my Xbox 360 controllers quite a bit, because they make playing games in cramped and awkward spaces like, say, an airplane seat a lot easier. I will definitely appreciate the detachable cable, as I believe one of my controllers has likely died from cable torquing in my bag this one time when I was going over the ferry to the island. Didn't work on the other end, so yeah, that sucked. Next up, we have all the input buttons. The thumbsticks seem fairly standard and they're finished quite nicely, and in the packaging they have some Razer green colored tops for the thumbsticks, which can change the feel and protect your thumbsticks from wear. Personally, I'll be leaving them off of mine because I feel like my thumbs kind of slip off of them while they're on, and I'm not too worried about the durability as they're actually quite nice thumbsticks. The D-pad is pretty nice and an improvement over the Onza in my opinion, but I wouldn't really want to play a platformer on it personally. That being said, the separated buttons would be really nice for QuickTime events, as I doubt there would be as many wrong inputs, which can be very frustrating. Most games that I play on this controller wouldn't be platformers anyways, or I could just use the analog stick in that platformer like I did in Shovel Knight. Fantastic game, by the way. The hyper-responsive buttons are actually hyper-responsive. The audio and tactile feedback is fantastic, when paired up with a short travel length, it feels great when spamming. Kind of reminds me of typing on a Cherry Blue Switch keyboard, minus the obvious travel length differences. And then we come to the multifunction buttons. The M1 and M2 shoulder buttons are just enough out of the way that they don't feel like I would accidentally press them, and just enough in the way that I could press them easily if I actually needed to. And the story doesn't differ much for the M3 through 6 buttons on the back. These, I'll admit, I was pretty worried about. With my fairly large hands, I expected them to be crazy annoying, but they happen to sit in just the right position that they don't really bother me, and if I did, Razer includes a screwdriver to remove them and rubber plugs to fill the holes once you do. Nice. Just 3 more things, guys. 1, it's not wireless. 2, it has a 2.5mm microphone jack on the bottom, if you're into that sort of thing. And last but not least, 3, if you're running XPatter and you're kind of a guru and you plan on running custom controls on every button, you're slightly out of luck. Due to the controller handling the rebinding of the multifunction keys, you can only bind said keys to other keys on the controller. So say if you bind A to spacebar, you could bind M4 to A, which would then be spacebar, but you couldn't bind M4 to spacebar directly. It has to go through the bind of another button on the controller. It can't be independent. Alright guys, I'm still not necessarily done my search because it's a pretty big decision for me. If this lasts as long as my Xbox 360 controller did, I'll be using this for a long time. I got my Xbox 360 controller on launch, what, like 8 or 9 years ago? What do you guys think? I'd love to get your input down below or on the forum, and while you're down there, don't forget to like or dislike the video, favorite the video, share the video, subscribe to the channel, and donate if you're on the forum because that gets rid of all the ads, and I know you're not running ad blocker, right? So yeah, don't even worry about it at all. If you want a shirt that's, again, not this shirt, be sure to check out the link in the description down below. I know we should have the link down there for our Mountain Land shirts, which are up for a while and have been selling quite well. They're pretty cool, so I'd be sure to check that out. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys next time.